Right now at 10, a routine traffic stop results in the arrest of 4 people. One of those people had a warrant for her arrest for first-degree murder. Plus,
Pittsburgh high school students and alumni are taking Broadway tunes and adding a gender-bent twist. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with those details.
Also, dramatic footage of out of South Wichita as firefighters respond to a fully engulfed apartment complex. And a public memorial service in St. Charles, Missouri for a soldier killed in Afghanistan.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A routine traffic stop leads to the arrest of 4 people, including one wanted for first-degree murder of an infant. Around 10:40 last night, Caney police stopped a vehicle near the intersection of Vine and Taylor Street in Caney for displaying a paper tag that was unreadable. All 4 occupants of that vehicle were arrested. 28-year-old Angelic Moore of Altoona was arrested after police discovered she had an active warrant for first-degree murder out of Montgomery County. The warrant stems from an incident in March of this year when prosecutors say Moore allegedly murdered a 2-month-old infant. She's also charged with possession of drugs and intent to use the drugs. The other 3 occupants were arrested as well on various charges. Donald Bruton was arrested for driving with a non-registered vehicle, no insurance, and an open container. Ryan Banning was arrested on outstanding warrants from Neosho County, and Elizabeth Moore was arrested for possession of marijuana, meth, and drug paraphernalia. Beautiful weather out there today, but warm. Nick Kelly joins us.
Quite warm indeed, Chris, but once again, we were lucking out in terms of no humidity in addition to the heat out there. So we had a pretty good day to wrap up this weekend, but the official numbers show us starting at 70 and topping out at 91. Both numbers above normal for this early in the month of September. In the meantime, the Skywatch Storm Tracker is yet another day where we haven't had anything to track, at least in our area. But we zoom out to the west, you can see some thunderstorms that are trying to hold on as they hop over the Colorado-Kansas line. They're staying along a stationary front parked across central Kansas. That won't be the front that will move in here tonight, but we are starting to see that result in some changes later on down the road. Before tonight, we keep things quiet. Lows dropping back to 68. That light south breeze, occasionally gusting to 15, picks up during the afternoon tomorrow. As a result, Chris, with mostly sunny skies, we'll have highs for most of us topping out around 92. We'll break down the rest of the week, including our next chance for rain here in a bit.
All right, Nick, thank you. Pittsburgh High School theater students held a cabaret performance of various show tunes. Now, the money went toward funds to compete in a statewide theater competition, but the performance had a gender-swapping twist. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has more.
Pittsburgh high school theater students put on a cabaret to raise funds for their theater program, although it wasn't a typical cabaret.
For years, we've done a cabaret, which a cabaret is, it doesn't have a synopsis, it's not a story. It's just people pick out songs that they want to do and they get to come on and showcase themselves. We've done cabarets before. They're fundraisers for KTF, which is Kansas Thespian Festival, and ITF, which is International Thespian Festival.
This Sunday's theme had a gender-bent twist.
Basically, a typical female performing person would perform a male song, and the opposite, and so. Just however somebody identifies, if they get to do a song that typically they wouldn't get to perform on stage, this is their opportunity to do that.
Actors that took part say singing songs from the opposite gender's perspective was an opportunity to expand on their musical and theatrical abilities.
It's very interesting. You have to look at vocal range. You have to look up, oh, do I sing this in the original key? Do I take it up the octave? Do I go somewhere in the middle? And especially with this cabaret, I had a really hard time finding a song.
It gave students the opportunity to sing songs that they may have always wanted to sing, but never had the opportunity to.
Comeback is a song from a male's perspective. And so typically I wouldn't be able to sing that song, but that song's in my range and I love that song, so I got the chance to perform that finally.
Most importantly, it allowed students to get out of their comfort zones, which is what theater's all about. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The Pittsburgh High School Theater Troupe will also be performing at the Kansas Thespian Festival. All funds raised from this cabaret will go towards funds for those students to compete. The Wichita Fire Department shared dramatic body cam footage showing firefighters' response to a fully involved apartment fire on Monday, September the 6th, in the 2800 block of South Emporia in South Wichita. At about 7:50, the Wichita Fire Department said crews from Station 22 advised that heavy smoke was showing from the second and third floors of the front and rear of the three-story apartment building. At the scene, 4 citizens and 2 firefighters received treatment for injuries. As of Friday night, the WFD reported that the cause of the fire remains under investigation. The fire department reported 6 units heavily damaged by fire and water, with an additional 10 not inhabitable. The American Red Cross responded to help the displaced residents. The fire department says there were no fatalities. Heaviness sent over the St. Charles County community as people made their way inside Bow Funeral Home Saturday afternoon to honor fallen service member Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Gabriella Vidal has that story.
Heavy. It's very, very heavy on our hearts.
Heaviness set over the St. Charles County community as people made their way inside Bowie Funeral Home.
We're paying our respects to a young man that died for our country, as we should, and everybody should.
Elected leaders, loved ones, and people who didn't know Jared Schmidt paid their respects to his mother and father during the 7-hour visitation.
The one thing I said is, I don't know what to say to you. What do you say to somebody that their entire life has just been dismantled and now they're expected to move on?
Lawrence Danielson and his wife say they can relate to the family's pain as a family of multiple members in the military, but also know how lucky they are to have seen their children come home after serving.
It's a closeness that I don't think anybody can really understand unless you've served yourself. I had 3 sons in the service, one in Iraq, one in Desert Storm, one in Persian Gulf. So with me being in the Vietnam era, I feel very proud to be part of it.
Jeff Hirsch with the St. Louis Patriot Guard says despite leading thousands of remembrances for fallen service members, the sadness doesn't get any easier, especially on 9/11.
It's probably hitting us all the same. It's a very emotional day for the United States. This on top of it with Jared, it's very difficult today. It's a lot of emotions throughout.
Hirsch says while Jared's passing has hit the community hard, it's also brought so much patriotism and love around this Gold Star family.
I've never seen anything like it. I've done well over 1,000 missions, and the outpouring of support Wednesday was just outstanding. I've never seen anything like it, so I applaud St. Louis for coming out for this young man.
In St. Charles,
So we'll honor them for the rest of time.
A private funeral for Jared Schmitz will be held on Thursday. He'll be buried at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery. And we take this time now to honor one of our many 4th State heroes. Staff Sergeant Theron Crozier served in the Army with the 101st Airborne Division in Vietnam, his hometown, Coffeyville. We're proud to recognize Staff Sergeant Theron Crozier, tonight's 4th State hero. Well, still ahead on the K News at 10, former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb predicted on CBS's Face the Nation that the FDA would authorize Pfizer's vaccine for emergency use in children ages 5 to 11 by the end of October. We'll have the latest on that vaccine situation. The Delta variant continues its unrelenting spread, while about 80 million Americans remain unvaccinated against COVID-19. With children heading back to the classroom and cases rising among the young, there's new concern about what the fall may bring. CBS News correspondent Tom Hansen reports from New York.
New York City public school students make a full return to in-person classes Monday. The milestone for the nation's largest school district comes as COVID-19 cases among children are on the rise. In a recent week, they made up 1 in 4 new cases nationwide.
The reality is that we have seen record numbers of children hospitalized during this Delta surge. We may be headed to another peak or to another valley if we all pull together.
For the sickest, child hospitalization rates spiked nearly tenfold since late June. The Pfizer vaccine, already authorized for ages 12 and up, is widely expected to be approved for emergency use in younger kids this fall.
You could potentially have a vaccine available to children aged 5 to 11 by Halloween if everything goes well.
Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb says he thinks COVID vaccines will eventually join others already required for public school students.
I would expect this eventually to be required as part of the childhood childhood immunization schedule.
Last week, President Biden unveiled sweeping vaccination rules. His administration will, in part, require businesses with more than 100 employees to mandate the shot or weekly testing.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us.
The federal mandate will be counterproductive. It's going to increase resistance. We're going to grow our vaccinations whether you have this or not.
GOP governors from several states and the Republican National Committee are threatening a legal battle over the new vaccine rules. Tom Hanson, CBS News.
The Biden administration's new rules also mandate most federal employees and contractors be vaccinated, as well as employees at health facilities receiving funds from Medicare and Medicaid. Later on the KOAM News at 10, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tell you what day it is.
Before we get to that, though, we'll break down how we look for the week ahead, including our next chance for rain and a bit of a break from the heat. That's all up next. We kept pretty quiet, thankfully, as our weekend has come to a close, but we had having a hard time actually scrubbing out some of this late summer heat. Let's break down the numbers here in a moment, but first, sunrise, sunset outside Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri. Kept us quiet once again, but it's these quiet skies and a south breeze throughout the day that meant back into the heat. But we actually turned it a little bit cooler compared to yesterday. We topped out in the mid 90s yesterday, near 70 this morning, back into the lower 90s, 91 officially at Joplin Regional. And even though it's a step downward, we've been pretty warm, if not hot, with 10 of the last 12 days for the month of September so far running above normal. Plenty of 80s and 90s on the board. Hopefully, we're going to get a good downward trend for the middle of this week with our next storm system on the way. We'll show you where that is in a moment. But 7th and Rangeline, looking quiet from the east side of Joplin. So at least we're keeping quiet again as we go into the rest of the night. 74 in Joplin. Humidity at 57%, so not too terribly high despite a south breeze at about 11 miles per hour. As far as the rest of the area is concerned, we're seeing lower to mid 70s across the board. In fact, even Stockton Lake already is trying to drop back to 69 degrees at this time, but we'll eventually have everybody drop back into the upper 60s to near 70 now that our southerly breeze that was a bit up there throughout the day, it has lightened back to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. We could still see an occasional gust near 15 overnight, but not strong enough to leave us too terribly mild as we go through the rest of the night. Not much to track throughout much of the day in our immediate area, but you can see how just to the west, there is still a cluster of thunderstorms trying to hold together across western parts of Kansas. Odds are very likely that those storms are going to stay right along the stationary front, which is actually going to wash out over the next day or so. But this part of our frontal system, that is our next cold front in the Pacific Northwest. That's going to change our weather up once we get into the middle of the week, and that will finally start to head our way now that the upper level ridge is actually starting to break down a bit, split into two, these upper level highs, and that's still going to allow the jet stream to sink toward the south as we go toward the middle of the week. But as long as we're still on the hot side of the jet, we got to get past a mild start in the morning before we go back into the late summer heat. At least we keep things quiet during the overnight, mostly clear skies and a south breeze to 5 to 10 miles per hour. That means overnight lows for many of you, dropping off to about 68 degrees. Throughout the rest of our Monday, we'll just take this weekend's weather and repeat it all over again. Mostly sunny up top, 87 by noon, topping out at 92 with a south breeze at 5 to 15 during the day. And as far as the rest of the area, we're all fair game to top out in the lower 90s. A dry heat, but still these numbers running above normal. Not until we see our jet stream setup change as we go into Tuesday. As this edges closer, maybe a random storm on Tuesday, but our next front with this jet stream really ramps up our rain chances on Wednesday. And as it does, if the rain chances play out like I'm seeing them at this point in time, we see anywhere from 1/10 of an inch to an inch of rain that some of you could certainly use. Plus, it doesn't hurt that we'll take the little cool down in temperatures that'll come along for the ride as well. 92 tomorrow, 89 on Tuesday. We'll drop back into the upper 60s Wednesday and Thursday with highs in the mid to upper 80s. That's a nice dip in temperatures, Chris, before we, surprise, surprise, have to head back into the 90s for next weekend.
Still a kind of a continuing roller coaster in a sense.
A little bit. I'd like to see more dips or downward hills in this part of this roller coaster.
We're going to get there eventually.
Yes, we will.
Nick, thank you so much. Well, the NFL is back, and the Chiefs are home to start their season, and it's an early season test for the Chiefs, taking on the Browns. We'll have those highlights coming up. And staying with Kansas City teams, the Royals look to take the series from the Twins this afternoon.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. The day has finally come. The Kansas City Chiefs are back in action to start the 2021 season. Kansas City is hosting the Cleveland Browns. Victory for the Chiefs, 33-29, the final from Arrowhead.
All in all, a good day. Spags put together a nice game plan. Came in, made a couple tweaks that's for the second half, and EB with the run game part of it, wanting to feed 25 and get him going. I mean, and I thought that made a big difference.
The Kansas City Royals are in action today, finishing out a road series with the Minnesota Twins. Series is split. Royals looking to win it today. Adalberto Mondesi breaks the tie here with a long shot to right. Later, Twins trailing, but with a chance to tie it back up, Brent Rooker lines it to the corner, a 2-run double, and that does it. It's back to even. In the 8th, here's the go-ahead run for Kansas City. Kyle Isabel gets it through. Hunter Dozier scores. The Royals go on to add one more, and they win 5-3. The Cardinals also with a chance to take the series. Bottom 1, Nolan Arenado gives St. Louis an early 2-0 lead, his 31st home run of the season. It's a low-scoring game. We'll head to the 8th. Jonathan India looks like he could put the Reds on the board here, but it's in foul territory. Dylan Carlson makes the catch over the wall. The next batter, Genesis Cabrera, gets him swinging to end the inning. The Cardinals win 2-0, just one game back now from the second wild card spot. That brings us to our one and only break in the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. Coming up, we'll hear from PSU head coach Brian Wright on the Gorillas' troubling loss. Welcome back to the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. The Pittsburgh State Gorillas entered the weekend ranked 23rd in the country, coming off a road win over Central Missouri in Week 1. PSU hosted UNK in their home opener on Saturday, aiming for a 2-0 start to the season. The Gorillas looked sharp on both sides of the ball in the second quarter. They put up 17 points with touchdowns from Tyler Adkins and Jalen Martin. Leading by 10 at half, PSU went scoreless for the rest of the game. The Lopers scored 21 unanswered points to secure a 28-17 win.
I told them we have to learn a valuable lesson here. We have to go back to work and get better. And we let some of the details catch up to us this week. Didn't think that we had necessarily our best week of preparation coming off that big win, and we got to do a better job of focusing and doing the right things during the week and handling the preparation the right way, and then just come out and execute. We just didn't execute in really all three phases in that second half.
Missouri Southern also at home for the first time since 2019, hosting Northeastern State. The Lions took their biggest lead of 10 points in the second quarter following a 29-yard touchdown run by Joplin alum Nathan Glades. The freshman finished with 17 carries and 106 yards, but Missouri Southern couldn't maintain that lead, falling 21-17 and moving to 0-2 on the season.
This was a team loss. Were there bright spots for both sides of the ball? Absolutely. There's some things we can look back. We ran the ball really well in the first half. Defensively, we had some key stops. But just overall, neither side has put together 4 quarters yet. And so as quickly as we praise them, there's some things that we got to get fixed.
The Oklahoma Sooners played their home opener a little too close for comfort, barely beating Tulane. But this week, they got back on track. OU at home against Western Carolina. I think the Sooners had a little chip on their shoulder. They roll over Western Carolina 76-0, the school's highest point total since 2007. Spencer Rattler, 20 for 26, 243 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and that's just from one half of play. Oklahoma remains at home next Saturday, taking on Nebraska. The Missouri Tigers opened their season with a win at home over Central Michigan. This Saturday, the Tigers went on the road for their first conference game of the season. An SEC showdown against Kentucky. The Wildcats come out fast. Wendell Robinson has room to run 64 yards to set up Kentucky inside the 10. They finish the drive. Chris Rodriguez makes a 6-yard catch and walks in. Mizzou falls behind, and they'll trail nearly all game. In the fourth quarter, Connor Bazelak short pass to Tyler Beatty. Beatty now breaks a tackle and busts through the end zone. It's a tie game, but the Tigers never able to take the lead. Rodriguez takes it in for his 4th touchdown of the day. Kentucky gets by Mizzou 35-28. We're right back after this.
Well, hey, get your blenders ready. Today is National Chocolate Milkshake Day. Ice cream lovers, chocolate lovers, or anyone with a sweet tooth, this is your day to indulge. You can observe by enjoying a chocolate milkshake at your favorite restaurant, or you can whip up one of your own. And make sure you share what you're having online with the hashtag Chocolate Milkshake Day. It's getting late, but hey, you still have a few minutes to get out there. Danny, I know you were a little upset that you couldn't have one, but you still have some time.
I think I'm convinced now.
We've got to make sure we all get our milkshakes, and a bit of a milkshake of a forecast temperature-wise.
Yeah, if we go back into the 90s tomorrow, which I think we will, milkshake might be just the thing to keep you cool. But we'll keep things quiet to get this new work week and school week started. We'll get a little break from the heat, though, come the middle of the week with our next front, which will also bring some rain chances, too. But 89 Tuesday, 84 Wednesday, 88 Thursday. We'll take those numbers before we head back into the 90s this weekend.
All right, Nick, Danny, thank you so much. That's our time for now. Remember, we're always on at KOAMNewsNow.com and with the KOAM News Now app. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Thanks for making us part of your night.